Hi, it's Chris Kaufman with another Agovia management concept. Today we'll be talking about the ideas of disagreement and resistance, your friend or your foe. Now, this is by no means a mystery series, so I'm going to tell you out of the gate. We believe that it is shocking, but disagreement and resistance are the basis of your survival and your strength. Your first thought may be that you've got the twin boogeymen, that these are the bane of my existence, or this is going to be a pain in my, well, you know. So let's start there. Remember these two things. You will always deal with disagreement and resistance, so you better figure out how to deal with it. Second, there's no strength in continual agreement. You will get no benefit if people can agree with you all the time. People and organizations are subject to the same dynamics of the physical universe. Things will resist change. An object at rest doesn't want to move. Most of the fuel used in a rocket or a jet is taken getting off the ground. A moving object doesn't want to stop, so overcoming resistance is the key to strength. Disagreement and challenge are the tempering fire that sharpen your organization. Sports, you want a hard schedule. Science, peer review. The free market is what challenges you to become good. So let's start with disagreement. Remember, disagreement is the key to getting it right. You are perfectly capable of saying yes to yourself. You don't need your staff and coworkers to do it for you. You need disagreement, rigorous debate. These drive the brain power, the horsepower of your staff and your team into the engine of the best solution. And hey, you are paying for that. You're paying for their brain power. You better use it. On the other hand, you know, there's some appeal to having a Greek chorus of bobblehead dolls nodding their head at you and saying, yep, sounds good to me. Organizations without a healthy culture of disagreement become weak, dysfunctional, flaccid, and worse, they lose touch with reality and often fail. Let's look at an old friend, Ford Motor Company. The Model T was produced between 1908 and 1927. Henry was convinced that it was the epitome of engineering and design, so much so that in 1912 he destroyed a new prototype with his bare hands. There was one person at Ford, and that was Henry. So what happened? 1920, they owned 60% of the market. 1923, they dropped to 45. 1926, 34. They never recovered their number one position in the market. Henry's fixation and his dominance in the company made them lose touch. Now, let's be fair. There are exceptions. Sometimes a control freak at the top of the organization that's unwilling to brook disagreement is absolutely right, and it works for a while. But in that case, they've usually trained their organization to be such doormats that when they leave, the company falls into the abyss because they can't make decisions for themselves. What do you need to look for? Are people disagreeing with you on a regular basis to the point it makes you uncomfortable? They should be. Do you hear statements like, that's an unsanctioned discussion? That should run shivers down your spine. And do people think about what they say to you very carefully? Are they parsing their words? Intimidation and sycophancy in the here and now is bad. For the future, it's disastrous. You need to create a healthy culture of disagreement. Publicly and physically support outspoken discussion and give permission for it to happen. In fact, compliment the questioner. Create the expectation you will get these questions, and it's amazing what that can do. Don't accept easy agreement. People need to justify it if they agree with you. Become uncomfortable at least once a day. So, embrace disagreement. Challenge and disagreement sharpens you and helps you find problems before they happen. Now, do not let this happen to you, and make it very clear to your staff. You will not let this happen to you. We all know who this guy is or was. He was the emperor who had nice clothes until he believed the flattery and had no clothes. If you're not getting challenge and disagreement, assign the book The Emperor's New Clothes to your staff as the next management read. Now, resistance. It's going to be with you always. You're always going to deal with it. So, recognize it, learn to handle it. Okay? Resistance is a verb. It is an action, and it is the basis of your strength. Overcoming resistance and adversity teaches, trains, and builds your muscles. Every single strengthening program in the world is based on resistance. Who knew that? Charles Atlas knew that. Dynamic tension, progressive resistance. He knew that would build my muscles. So, what are the four flavors? Legitimate resistance, adjustment or fear-based resistance, and belief-based resistance. And of course, don't forget this. Don't forget disguised misdirection. It will always come with a beard on it. Okay? Watch out for that. Watch out for the disguise. So now let's talk about the varieties of resistance. Or, what was I thinking? The varietals of resistance. I wonder where my mind is. Number one, let's talk about legitimate resistance. You could be wrong. You could be about to do something really stupid. Be open to that possibility. Can you clearly and succinctly say why you are asking people to do this and to change? Without logical holes, it's critical you do that. You can do that. Adjustment resistance. Hey, that's actually agreement. Treat it as support. It's tuning, it's tweaking, embrace it. Now, remember what Freud said. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Don't be overly sensitive. Sometimes a suggestion is just a suggestion, not a way to disagree with you. Again, engage the power of the team. Remember, if you have an idea, and he has an idea, and she has an idea, and you argue it out, at the end of that discussion, you'll probably have a better and more rigorous idea than any of you had to begin with. Now let's talk about one. Fear-based resistance. Ooh. Actually, it's not that bad. Surprisingly, it is something you can work with. So, what do we do with fear-based resistance? Number one, look for the cause. I'll be personally hurt. It's going to be detrimental to a group I care about. It will fail. We don't know how to do it. Then find the triggers and diffuse them. Are you asking somebody to take risks and get out of their safety zone? Do they need training and support? Do they not trust you? Maybe you don't have the credibility to make it happen. For fear-based resistance, start here. Find the high-level place you can all agree to, then work your way down the ladder till you get a break. That's where you need to work. Now, belief-based resistance. This is the hard one. Belief-based resistance. A fundamental belief is being impacted by something you are doing. It's critical that you listen and communicate with the person resisting because of a core belief. Make sure the perception causing the resistance is accurate. Make sure that what they're objecting to really is there. Don't fight battles you don't need to fight. You'd be often surprised how often it's a misunderstanding that causes this. Find a common outcome you can all agree to. Try to meet the needs of the believer if you can legitimately. But sometimes leadership decision making is where it's at. Performance to requirement may have to be your final answer, and you just have to make a call. And remember, a true believer is very difficult to change. All right. Let's wrap up this bad boy on disagreement and resistance. I've been talking for quite a while. Here are some final words to think about. Misdirection. Fear-based resistance will almost always come wearing a beard or in disguise. Yes is a very difficult thing to fight. If you get yes that is not meant and is not supported, you will have a hard time fighting that. Watch it closely. Watch for the irrational motivator. It could be ego, it could be they're getting pats in the back from somebody else for something else. Watch for the motivator that is not rational and not following what you think is appropriate. Disagreement should be embraced and leveraged for rigor and effective outcome. Resistance should be handled whenever possible within the context of the team. But remember, the team and the outcome are your primary obligations. Sometimes hard decisions and actions will be required to move forward. Sometimes you gotta make the tough call, guys. The team deserves your strong leadership. And in the end, you need to get everyone in the same boat, rowing the same direction, or you'll just go in circles, or over the waterfall. So, this has been Chris Kaufman with Agovia Consulting, talking about disagreement and resistance. It'll be with you always. Learn about it, deal with it. We'll talk more later. Take care.